The littlest Volvo has everything it needs to take the EV market by storm. What's the biggest issue stopping more Americans from buying EVs? Some will say range or charging infrastructure, but the real problem is the price. Most EVs are too damn expensive for the average buyer, and few automakers are doing anything about it. Volvo is. The 2025 Volvo EX30 has the right combination of price, style, features, and utility to be a mega hit. Dollars and cents. Poke around the automotive world a bit these days, and you'll trip over half a dozen doom and gloom headlines predicting a sudden collapse of the EV market in America. Never mind that EV sales and market share are up year over year, quarter over quarter, and month over month, and continuing to climb. These stories all point to the same canary in the lithium mine: the number of EVs on dealer lots and how long it takes to sell them. They always seem to leave out the part where the vast majority of EVs today are very expensive, most starting at more than $48,000. The average selling price of a new car in America, and many of the less expensive ones blowing past that figure as soon as you've added all-wheel drive. The EX30? It starts at $36,245, and fully loaded it's $49,295. That alone will bring people in the doors, and the fact it's not only not a penalty box, but actually a really good little car will seal the deal. If they lease, they'll even be eligible for a tax credit despite the fact EX30s will be built in China and Belgium. Because the car is made outside the US and its batteries come from China, it isn't eligible for any federal purchase tax credits. But with a price this low, it doesn't need them to hook potential shoppers. Single and ready to mingle. That 36 grand and change buys you a single-motor, rear-drive car with a pretty good set of basics. All X30s sport the same all-in-one center touchscreen running Google software, so you already have Google Maps tailored to EV driving and charging plus wireless Android Auto by default. There's also wireless Apple CarPlay, and it takes over-the-air OTA software updates. Also on the ticket are adaptive cruise control, rear parking sensors, and basic active safety systems like automatic emergency braking and blind spot monitoring and intervention. They even throw in the portable charging cable instead of making you buy it separately like Tesla. The sweet spot is the mid-grade plus trim level. It upgrades the stereo to a Harman Kardon unit that sounds surprisingly good for what amounts to a sound bar below the windshield with only a pair of rear door speakers helping it. The sound isn't as full or rich as some car stereos, but it does a lot with a little. You can also pass on the all-wheel drive model unless you're either a speed freak or really need that front axle traction. The 268 HP single-motor extended range model will hit 60 mph in 5.1 seconds, Volvo says, and that's quicker than the average compact SUV, not to mention the rear-drive Tesla Model Y. Darting through fast-moving traffic in Barcelona and up into the Catalonian mountains, the single-motor car was plenty quick and handled surprisingly well for a car that makes no pretensions about being sporty. Credit the old EV calling card, a low center of gravity deftly exploited by Volvo engineers to make this car kind of fun to take around a corner. The deeply comfortable seats, which can be heated, along with the steering wheel, for $500 on any trim, don't offer a lot of lateral support, so there isn't much incentive to drive it like you're racing, but the strong body control and quick enough steering still offer a nice reward when you pick up the pace. There's even a bit of real, honest steering feel, even in the all-wheel drive car. The quiet interior helps too. Unlike some lower-priced EVs, the X30 doesn't skimp on the sound insulation, and the inside is quiet as a cathedral around town. Get it up to freeway speeds, and there's a little wind noise around the top corners of the windshield, but far from a deal breaker. Big twinning energy. You'll get up to speed far more quickly if you do decide to pop for the twin-motor performance model, especially if you use AWD performance mode. Available when the battery is above 80%, it locks the car in all-wheel drive and gives the motors full power. Launch it from a stop, and you'll have the quickest production Volvo in history, getting you to 60 mph in just 3.4 seconds thanks to a combined 422 HP. That's quicker than both a dual-motor Model Y long range and Model Y performance. A peak DC fast charging rate of just 153 kWh is disappointing, but Volvo engineers say the charging curve is very flat, allowing it to maintain peak speed for a long time rather than spiking at first and slowing down like some EVs. Charging from 10 to 80% takes 27 minutes, which is fairly competitive and gives credence to the sustained charging speed. Give it the beans without activating AWD performance mode, and you'll notice a slight hesitation in the power delivery. It takes the clutch about half a second to engage, just enough to notice if you're expecting the car to leap off the line instantaneously. On the plus side, the 19-inch wheels don't ride any worse than the base 18-inch wheels. The to-do list. Going the other way, the twin-motor models also experience a minor braking annoyance when using the one-pedal driving mode, which amps up the regenerative braking when you lift off the accelerator. Coming to a stop, it switches to mechanical braking at the last second, and they apply a bit too firmly, causing a slightly jerky stop. Volvo is aware of it, and still working on the tuning, but can't guarantee it'll be fixed by the time the first cars go on sale in January. If not, a fix will broadcast to all cars via an OTA update. The easiest workaround for now is to simply not use one-pedal driving on twin-motor cars. We didn't notice this issue on the single-motor car. It's a bit of a misnomer anyway, as the regenerative braking isn't quite strong enough on either model to allow for actual one-pedal driving as you need to use the brakes somewhat regularly. Volvo is considering additional regenerative braking modes, including a more aggressive one-pedal mode that could be installed by an OTA update if there's enough customer interest. Similarly, Volvo has followed Volkswagen down the wrong road in taking away half the window switches. There are only 2 up front rather than 4, and you have to press a touch-sensitive button between them to toggle between controlling the front and rear windows. It's an obnoxious design that makes it easy to accidentally hit the rear control button while you're feeling around for the switches, which are on the center console under your elbow where they aren't easy to see. Finally, there's the rear seat. It's very low and forces your knees into the air like sitting in a child's chair. Leg room is just barely adequate, so don't plan on driving your tall friends around. Their heads won't hit the ceiling, but they still won't be comfortable. Not that most compact SUVs have huge rear seats, but the high knees thing is an EX30 specific problem. In the middle, Volvo's Pilot Assist suite of active driver aids isn't the most mind-blowing of the current offerings. It requires you to always keep your hands on the wheel, it's quick to chastise you for looking away from the road, and it doesn't make any meaningful attempt to drive for you. We'd typically chalk this up to an underdeveloped system not meeting the standard of the day, but Volvo, for its part, claims it's deliberate. How does that make sense? Volvo's position is that the company has no interest in overpromising what its software and hardware are capable of. Volvo would rather you think its driver assistance systems are behind the times than that they're capable of more than they actually are. The worst case, in Volvo's opinion, is a driver assuming Pilot Assist is driving the car when that absolutely isn't the case. So the company wants to make it very clear that the driver is still responsible. It alternatively sounds like a cop-out and a savvy strategy that recognizes humans are far too willing to trust an underdeveloped system that provides a false sense of security. And considering that, it's hard to fault Volvo for erring on the side of caution. Carbon offsets. The funky interior is cool. It's open and airy, helped in part by the giant panoramic roof, if you get it. We don't usually like them as they let far too much heat and light in during the summer, but this one is bundled with other stuff we do like, so the best choice is to buy the clip-in retractable shade. Volvo came up with 4 different themed interiors and paired them with specific exterior paint colors. We love the variety of colors inside and out, and are impressed by Volvo's commitment to using recycled materials. The synthetic leather seats use a type of Nordic pine sap to offset some of the petroleum content in the material and are backed by polyester made from recycled soda bottles. The wool blend inserts on those seats and the full wool blend base seats are 70% recycled soda bottles too. One interior trim option uses woven cloth made of inedible flax encased in resin, while another is made from ground-up vinyl windows removed from old houses that were, until now, not recyclable. Regardless of theme, the interior is filled with clever storage solutions, like a combination cup holder and storage tray that slides out from under the center armrest and can be positioned to hold a single beverage or extended to hold 2. Below it, an open storage tray has a false bottom that splits open to reveal a partially hidden lower compartment or make space for larger items. On the backs of the front seats are not just the usual big pockets, but also smaller phone pockets that leave just enough screens showing to see the time or an incoming call. All the way in the back, the cargo area is big enough for full-size suitcases, especially if you pull up the false floor and expose the underfloor storage space. You can keep the portable charging cord down there, or you can stick it in the frunk under the hood where there's just enough space for it. Up on the tailgate, there's even a handy chart showing the interior dimensions with and without the seats folded, so you can easily figure out whether that IKEA purchase will fit before you buy it. A hit waiting to happen cars are a lot more than their numbers, but in the EX30's case, the numbers really do sell the car. Just over $36,000 to start and 275 miles of range will attract a lot of buyers ready for electric but unwilling to break the bank. For a few $1,000s more than a Honda CR-V hybrid, shoppers can go all electric and get a quicker, quieter vehicle that's cheaper to maintain and never has to go to a gas station. That will pull a lot of people off the fence.